Alabama consistently ranks near the bottom in education, healthcare access, and maternal health outcomes. I spoke with former U.S. Senator Doug Jones, who is running for governor, about his plans to tackle these challenges. Alabama continues to face serious challenges in its public education system. Many districts struggle with outdated classrooms, limited resources, and widening gaps between wealthy and rural schools. Doug Jones says solving these disparities starts with a statewide investment strategy and greater accountability in how taxpayer dollars are allocated.
We need to try to make sure that every student has the ability to have decent classrooms and decent infrastructure and good teachers.
Teacher shortages remain a growing concern. Rural districts often lose teachers to higher paying systems, leaving students with fewer course options and unstable staffing. Jones says boosting teacher pay and offering incentives like loan forgiveness could help attract and retain educators.
Making sure that they can earn a living wage, because these teachers are incredibly dedicated. They need to have not just their salary, but they need to have their retirement to look for down the road so that they stay with this profession.
Alabama ranks among the lowest in the nation for mental health assets. Jones argues that expanding Medicaid would bring billions of federal dollars into the state, funding that could strengthen mental health services, expand telehealth, and support resources in schools.
Expand Medicaid. That is one of the biggest issues I have. I ran on that when I ran for the Senate in 2017.
Rural health care remains one of Alabama's most urgent issues. More than half of the state's rural hospitals are at risk of closing. Jones says Medicaid expansion and better reimbursement systems could stabilize facilities, while new care models would help providers work more efficiently in underserved regions.
We've got to get all the stakeholders together, learn from them, find out where they can complement each other, how we can make our resources most efficient to do the best for the state.
On public safety, Jones says Alabama needs an approach that goes beyond enforcement alone. He believes stronger relationships between officers and communities, alongside mental health support and improved communication, are key to reducing crime.
We've got to make sure, though, that we're smart in what we're doing. And the law enforcement and safety of law enforcement is connected to mental health and how we deal with those mental health individuals. It's also connected to the prison system and how we deal with corrections.
Gun violence continues to rise across the state. Jones says solutions must be tailored to each community and rooted in prevention, education, and local decision making.
Again, this goes back, I think, to a combination of community things. It goes back to faith, it goes back to education, it goes back to mental health. All of these things take an effort.
Jones says recent legislation affecting LGBTQ plus residents is harming the state's reputation and workforce. He argues that equal treatment under the law is essential to attracting young people and families to Alabama.
You know, I believe in equality for all people. And I think a lot of the legislation that has been passed in the last few years is detrimental to the state.
Alabama has some of the highest maternal mortality rates in the nation. Jones says Medicaid expansion, telehealth tools, and targeted support for rural hospitals could help restore access to OBGYN services and improve outcomes for mothers and newborns.
We need to make sure those services are available to women across the state. That is one of the biggest issues.
Jones says his campaign is focused on collaboration and long-term planning rather than division. He says he believes bipartisan solutions are essential to addressing the state's challenges.
Whether it was as a local prosecutor, United States attorney, whether it was as a United States senator, I don't see an us versus them the way that others do. Right. I don't see this as good versus evil. What I see is a diverse Alabama, from Mobile all the way to Huntsville and from East Alabama to West Alabama.
From education and healthcare to public safety and maternal health, Doug Jones says progress in Alabama begins with investing in communities and bringing people together. He will face a slate of other Democratic candidates in the May 2026 primary. For AUM Live, I'm Nicholas Drayton.